welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Deb Lutz, also known as D-Lux, and I am here to take you through today's very short two-game NBA slate. We are at the end of the play-in tournament, so a couple of exciting games that we've got going on, and I am super pumped. I actually spent a little extra time on it today. I figured, with only two games, I can dive really deep and get a good feel for who's going to be getting minutes, who's going to be, making some stocks to kind of get some extra pints and what's going to be going on from a defensive standpoint. So excited to bring that to you. I feel really good about the lineups that I'm building tonight. Hopefully we can all win some big money. So I want to say a special hello to those who have joined early on this podcast. And I can't believe Stacks, who is always in so much early, got beaten out today by Nathan's Beauty. Way to go, Nathan. Showing up a full hour and 10 minutes before podcast time. So way to go. That is loyalty. I love it. But, Stacks also showed up about an hour beforehand. So pretty impressive, guys. Thank you both for joining, as well as OS. Thank you for joining us today. All right. So as people are coming in to join the podcast, we will start to just talk about what the situation looks like tonight. Two games that are really very different. You've got a 208.5 over/under for the Miami-Chicago game. Chicago's really gotten a lot better defensively. People have not really given them credit. Once they brought Pat Beverly in and put Caruso into the starting lineup, it completely changed the way their defense has put together, which actually makes them pretty suitable for the playoffs. And curious to see what's going to happen here. It is not a slam dunk that Miami's going to win, even though they are favored by 5. Miami has not been playing that great. And I think it's going to be a pretty decent battle. 208.5 is pretty low, and it's a full 20 points less than the other game tonight. So really an interesting question in terms of how you balance out lineups when you've got a much lower, game total in the first game. You want to make sure that you don't have too much exposure to that first game and not enough in the second game. And for that second game, OKC at Minnesota, OKC is really trying to make it in the playoffs for the first time in a long time. And I would personally love to see them do it. They've got a young, exciting team, lots more good stuff to come from them. And they're facing a Minnesota team who, had a run in the playoffs last season and looked pretty good. They picked up Gobert in the offseason, and boy, I don't know if Gobert has looked to be, making them better or worse at this point, but he's probably going to be back in tonight playing. And, typically OKC struggles against centers. So we're going to see what that means for both, Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. They're really playing two centers basically. So that's going to make things tough for OKC. But in terms of who's going to be playing tonight or not playing, I'm fully expecting just about everyone who is a questionable to be playing. So, for example, Miami, right now we've got Butler, Vincent, and Lowry all listed as questionable. I expect them all to be playing. There's no doubt. I mean, Lowry played like 32 minutes last game. He was the star of the game, frankly, and no way he's not playing tonight. Jovic is out. That doesn't really mean too much, but he will not be in this game. And Chicago's not showing anybody's injured, so they are fully healthy. Over in the other game with OKC, you're showing Poku out. He really hasn't played much in the second half of the year, so not missing too much there. Nobody else listed out on that side. But for Minnesota, you've got Gobert, Noel, and Towns all listed as questionable. I certainly expect Gobert and Towns to play. Not too sure about Noel, but he's probably not someone you want to factor in. He really hasn't played a lot down the stretch. I like his game a lot, actually, but I wouldn't be counting on him in this game if he does play for more than 15 minutes or so. McDaniels and Reed are definitely out. So, pretty healthy across the board. And honestly, when it comes to this type of player go home game, you're going to see the lineups shrink massively. Teams are going to be playing, going at most 8 deep or so. and the starters are going to be getting, some of them are going to be getting in excess of 40 minutes, which is something that you rarely see in the regular season. So also something to think about when you think about points per minutes on some of these guys and where their pricing is. So we've got David Dulac joining us as well. Hey, one of my favorites and a DD, so good to see you. And Nathan is asking, what's better, Lowry, Butler, and Saric, or Dort, Vuk, and Martin? Okay, well, we will tackle that as we go through. I won't spill the beans right now, but definitely we'll get back to that. If I don't address it as we're going through, I'll certainly address it at the end. It's a good one. All right, so let's kick things off here. I will go through and do a little bit on ownership as well, since we've got the time. I'm curious if you guys are seeing something different. I can't get access to Yahoo. It's showing that there are no games tonight on Yahoo. Is that the case for you guys as well? I have not done anything with Yahoo because I assumed there were no games tonight, but I don't know if that's just a glitch on my end or if that is how it is across the board. So let me know. All right, so kicking things off, Chicago and Miami. What do I think? What do I think the outcome is going to be? I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. My heart's a little bit with Chicago. I'd actually love to see them make it. Miami, of course, has all the experience, and you can't count out a guy like Butler. I mean, Jimmy Bucket seems to turn it up a level during the playoffs, and I think in particular with the a win or go home kind of game, I think he's going to be in rare form. So, I do like Butler a lot, although his pricing is pretty high. 9,000 on DK and 9,800 on Fanduel. It's limiting his ownership a tiny bit, but versus a couple other guys, but frankly not that much. I mean, the reality is the big guys, Butler, Bam, and Hero are all very highly owned. So you've got on Draftkings, you've got Butler at 36%, Bam, and he's at 9,900, Bam at 30% at 8,200, and then Hero a little bit lower, only 17% at 7,600. So when you're looking at this in a GPP versus a cash game, you'd think of Hero as more of a GPP play and Butler and Bam as cash. And I totally agree with that, and that's how I'm going to be playing it as well. Could Hero go off tonight? He could, although he's going to be facing Caruso defense, and I think that makes things a bit challenging for him. He hasn't been playing particularly well. He was playing a lot better early in the season. But one thing to think about also is that, his last game is not a great indication because he got in massive foul trouble really early on and never really got his groove. So I'm not going to go after him probably in cash games, but for GPP, I think his pricing is really good. And again, if people are looking at the last game and saying, yeah, he's not gonna do it, I think they may not have realized that he was in foul trouble for the majority of the game. Like I said, I do love Butler here. I'm going to try and fit him in. I'm a little bit more excited on. Sorry, I was giving you the FanDuel numbers. So I'm a little more excited on DraftKings where he's only 9K as opposed to FanDuel. Makes it really tough because the reality is there's only a few $100s separating he and Shea. I guess it's $1,000. So and Shea is just a points machine. So but I definitely want to have some Miami exposure. The guy that I like the best, frankly, is Bam. I think it's a really great matchup for him. I think he's going to play a ton of minutes. He's a decent points per minute guy. I think he's got a pretty safe floor somewhere around that 40 level. So he's definitely someone that I'm finding that I'm fitting into my lineups a little bit more. Tough calls on the Miami side in terms of other players to play. I think you've got a whole slew of options between Lowry, Vincent, Strus, Martin, and Oladipo. So I'm going to walk through those because I think that's going to be one of the most important aspects is do you pick those guys right. Right now we don't know what the starting lineup looks like. I think there's a good chance that Lowry starts given his performance last time and the fact that Vincent's a little bit dinged up. And I think the price reflects that. I think what's challenging is that, last time we were all over Lowry and it paid off big time. He was 4K on DraftKings. So you couldn't beat it. It was almost like a no-lose situation. Right now, he's 6K on Fanduel, and on DraftKings, he is, I think he's 5,600. Let's keep that. Yep, 5,600. So, that's not as easy to get to. Makes me a little bit less interested in him, particularly when you look at some of the other guys. You can either go way down for someone like a Pat Beverly at 4,300, who's probably going to be playing similar minutes, or you can go up a little bit for a Mike Conley, who is going to really be running the show over in Minnesota and has been playing great lately. So, a little tougher to get to Lowry. I'm definitely going to get to less of him, particularly when I think about some of the other options. I just don't think, and also with the Beverly defense, I just don't think he's going to have the field day that he did in the last game. I think there's going to be a lot of people looking at that last game and saying that's why I want to go after him. Strus makes me nervous. I'm waiting to see who shows up in the starting lineup, if it's going to be Martin or Strus, because Strus has not been playing great. He is all points. Now, if they slot him into the starting small forward position, he's up against Zach LaVine defense, not bad. Then they do need his shooting, that's for sure. But he's also not the best defender, and they may want to put Caleb Martin in against LaVine to defend him. So I'm waiting to see that, and I'll probably go with whoever starts. I'm really leaning towards Martin. I like his game more against Chicago, although he's not a great points per minute guy. But if he starts, I think he'll be getting the minutes, and so I'm leaning towards him. The other guy I just do not know what to do with is Oladipo. I was super high on him for a while, and I thought for sure he was going to have a role in the playoffs. And then he played like single-digit minutes in this last game. So he could burn me big time because I'm not going there. I may throw him into one GPP just because he's so incredibly cheap. But he is someone that it's just unclear. I know that there's just some friction going on. He doesn't seem to play in certain games, and not really sure. Assuming that, Lowry's good to go and Vincent is good to go, and Hero is not in foul trouble, I just don't see him getting many minutes. So I am probably so of these bench guys, and then Vincent dinged up. If he starts, I like him at his price point because he is really low. He's 4,900 on DraftKings, so that's not too low. And he's getting zero ownership. So again, GPP play, but an interesting GPP play. He's at 4,400 or 8% ownership on Fanduel. So he might be the forgotten man. Didn't play great in the last game. Came out a couple of times because he was injured, and Lowry took over, so he's playing amazingly. But if they go to more of a balance and they bring Vincent in off the bench, he might be good for 20 or so fantasy points. And at that kind of low ownership, he makes another interesting GPP play. So I'll take it to the other side, and then I will take a look at what's going on in the chat, because lots of good stuff going on. Chicago is also interesting. So again, you sort of have the big three with LaVine, DeRozan, and Vuk. The guy I'm fading today is LaVine. He is, he's been playing great. I do think that for some reason I have more of a feel that DeRozan's going to play better in this game. I feel like DeRozan's due a bit. He's played Miami well. I think he had a 50-point game, 50 fantasy point game against them earlier this year. And I think there's a little bit more excitement around LaVine just because he's been playing so well lately. Plus, he's a little bit less expensive. On DraftKings, I'll take a look at the ownership. Actually, funny enough, on DraftKings, they are exactly the same, 31% owned. And on Fanduel, DeRozan is just behind LaVine. So both are getting high ownership. I certainly wouldn't play both of them, not in this game that's low scoring. One of them is going to probably go off. Then again, I guess They could both just sort of have, decent games. But I do feel like this is going to be a DeRozan game. I also wouldn't mind Vuk. It's not the best matchup against Bam, but from a cash game perspective, the way his pricing is, I think he's got a pretty solid floor. I don't think he's a bad play at all. He and Bam, however, are priced very similarly, and I do think Bam has more upside. Let's take a look. Bam is 7,600 on DK, 38% owned, and Vuk is 7,500 and 35% owned. So again, and I think it's similar on Fanduel. They're like $100 apart. So very similar, and ownership really seems to be getting split, which is super interesting. So, I'm going to be leaning towards Bam personally, but I think it's going to be pretty close between those two. As far as the periphery guys, Caruso had a huge game the last game. I think they want him out there for his defense. I think he could get some stocks on this in this lineup, and so I do not mind him at all. I also kind of like Beverly. I mean, they just work pricing wise, right? These guys are mid fours. They're going to be getting some minutes, and so I don't mind getting them in my lineups at all. The other guy is Kobe White. He's going to be playing against Miami's second team. And so maybe a little bit softer defense, and he is more of an offensive player as well. So he's another guy that I could see getting to. I'm not interested in DeSumo, and I have been seeing a lot of people going after Drummond in GPPs. He is 3,900. He's getting 9% ownership on Fanduel. Draftkings, he is getting at 3,100. He's getting 18% ownership. And I just, I don't even know how much he's going to be out there. They could go small. They could be playing Derek Jones a bit. You don't need to go big against Miami. They're not big. You've got Patrick Williams. So I'm not excited about Drummond, and I'm not going to be going to him much at all. The only other guy, Patrick Williams, he's, let's see where Patrick Williams is. I don't think he's getting too much love. He is 4,700 on DraftKings, getting 6%, and on FanDuel, he is at 5K. He's actually getting 13% ownership. So, there's a lot of downside to Pat Williams. That being said, he is going to be one of the lower owned starters on the entire slate. And given that, is he someone that you go for in a GPP? Yeah, could be possible. I haven't been sitting him in yet, but certainly something to think about. I think he's got some downside for sure. I mean, the guy's got 30-point upside though, so it's just a little bit too much on the risky side for me. I'm probably not going there, but in a large field GPP, like I said, he's going to be one of the lower owned guys who is going to be starting and will definitely get, in my opinion, at least 25, if not, 30 to 35 minutes. Okay, so let's take a look and see what folks are saying in the chat, because there's lots going on. I am going to address Nathan right now. I think most of these guys, you got a couple of guys in the later game, but for the most part, the first game. So Lowry, Butler, and Sarge on Dort, Vuk, and Martin. Personally, I like Dort, Vuk, and Martin. Couple of reasons. I think Dort, he needs to be in there for his defense. He's going to play 36 plus minutes. So you're going to get a lot of time from him. And I think he's good for probably about, 0.8 or so fantasy points per minute. Vuk, good solid, like 1.1 fantasy points per minute. He's going to be getting 35 plus minutes. And then Martin, I do think, we'll wait and see if he shows up as starting, but I do think that he's going to get more minutes than he did get in the last game. And while he's not a great fantasy point per minute guy, he could get you some of those stocks. And I certainly think he's going to outperform Sarge. I think Sarge, the only way Sarge plays a lot of minutes is if Jalen Williams gets in foul trouble. I think they're really pleased with how Jalen Williams has been playing, but they're not going to play both of them on the floor at the same time. I would highly doubt that Sarge sees much at the power forward position. It's going to be only center, and therefore I think his minutes are limited. And Lowry, like I mentioned, I think we're chasing some of those points from the last game. I just don't see him. What was he? He was some incredible number in 3-point range, and I just don't see that happening again. So I'm in favor of the Dort, Vuk, and Martin combination. All right. Let's see. Okay, so Yahoo is showing games. I am not getting any Yahoo games, so I got to figure out what's going on there. But Dulac likes Conley. We'll go through that. I like Conley a lot as well. Jalen Williams, okay, with a Y, so we'll talk about him in the next game. Do I like Lowry on DK if he starts? So Lowry on DK, just so you guys know, I think he's 5,600. Yeah, his ownership is let's see, lower than I thought. Yeah, 28%. I do like him on DK if he starts, because I think if he's starting, he's going to be involved. He's going to be facilitating the offense. I think you'll definitely get some assists out of him if the guys are making their shots. So I think the risk is pretty low. I like him better on DK than I do on Fanduel, just given the price differential. But yes, I do like going to him. Let me actually see if I've got him in my most recent final cash lineup. Let's see here. I have got. He is not in my latest cash lineup, but I'm not final on that yet, so we'll see how that goes. I think there's a good chance that I do end up with him. Okay. We got DeRozan. Scares me lately. Hasn't really been the leader. Livingston takes exactly, DB, and that's why I think it's going to be a DeRozan game. I think it's time. Like, this is, money on the line here. I mean, DeRozan is the veteran. I think his game is suited well for this matchup, and I think he brings it in this one. Drummond won't play unless Vuk does something dumb. Exactly. I mean, if he gets in foul trouble or something, but I just don't think that's going to happen. I'm totally with you. Vuk or small ball. MB, how's it going? What's going on? And Boy from Cali, we know that a podcast is not right until Boy from Cali joins. So thank you so much. Fire Deb? No. I'm on fire. Anyway. Cool. Well, listen, hit the like button on YouTube so that we can move up there on the algorithms. We are typically on fire during the playoffs, and so we typically get more viewers. And if we can get up there on the algorithms, we'll get even more. So keep that going, and much appreciated. If there are no other questions, I'm going to go on to the second game of the night. And load everything up here. This game excites me a little more. Obviously, a lot more point potential, much more of an offensive game. Spread is similar. Minnesota favored by 5. So you got Miami by 5, Minnesota by 5. Wouldn't be surprised at all if Chicago and OKC both pull it out. I mean, you've got Miami and Minnesota. You've got three points there for the home field advantage. So these are pretty close games, as they should be at this point. And I expect this one to be a really good one. So, from a pure points per minute perspective, I mean, Shai Gilgeous should be the highest total of the night. Night in, night out, he's 50 plus, no problem. And I think against Minnesota, I think that's a definite possibility once again. Am I going to be getting to him? He is a full $1,000 more expensive than anyone else on the slate. And so I'm looking at him in GPPs, but probably not cash games, just because I don't want to dig too deep with bench players for the cash game. But I do like him in GPPs. I think if you're looking for raw points, it's going to be the way to go. As a backup, I love Giddey. Giddey's playing great. He's getting everything across the board. I mean, he's hitting his shot, he's getting rebounds and assists, he's getting stocks. I was playing around before in in some prop bets, and I've got Giddy with over 9.5 rebounds and over 5.5 assists. I just think he's got the complete package, and against the Minnesota team, I think it's an opportunity to really shine in those areas. So I'm favoring Giddy, and I get to a lot more of him, particularly in cash games. I just like Dort. I think Dort and Jalen Williams, without the Y, I think their prices are fair, low 6Ks. They're going to be getting a ton of minutes. Do I favor one or the other? I think Dort, Dort is a little bit limited offensively, in particular with Shai Gilgeous out there. He doesn't quite do as much from a usage standpoint. I think Jalen Williams is a dynamic player. Now with SGA, he doesn't do as much either. I mean, those huge games that he had was really when SGA wasn't in. So I think both of them don't have the upside potentially, but from a cash game perspective and that price range and the number of minutes that they're going to be playing, I really like them. I'm much less inclined to go after some of the bench players at OKC. I think they are really consolidating. I mean, during the season, you were playing Lindy Waters, you were playing Trey Mann, you were playing, Usman Deng. This time around, and for a game like this, I think they go to Isaiah Joe on the bench, and that's really it. Even Wiggins, I don't even see Wiggins getting out of the team in terms of minutes, and same with Sarge, as I mentioned earlier. So I think they stay with their starting five a lot more. These guys are young; they can play a ton of minutes, and I think as a result of that, I think Jalen Williams with a Y is of incredible value. He's my value play on the slate today. He's 4,400 on Draftkings. I think he smashes that. Now, last game he smashed, but he had a ridiculous number of assists. That's not going to happen again. But even so, he's good for rebounds. He'll get a few points. He is at, let's see, Jalen with a Y. 5,400 on Fanduel, so a little more expensive, but again, as far as starters go, that's pretty good. He's pulling 23% ownership. I think it's certainly a fair price point. On DraftKings, I'm getting to him all day, every day, in just about every lineup, because except if I go a crazy GPP and assume that he gets into foul trouble, and Sarge played like 25 minutes, but otherwise, I think it's an incredible price for Jalen Williams. Like I said, I'm not really going to the bench at all. I will have at least 2 Thunder in my lineup, possibly 3. And I'm doing the same thing on the other side. I think it's time. Minnesota has been through a lot recently. I think they've got to pull it together. I think some of their veterans, like Kyle Anderson and McConley, have to really take the reins and tell these guys to, let's get it done. Anthony Edwards scares me a little bit. I don't know, last game, obviously he wasn't playing well, but then he took that massive fall and he appeared to be a little bit injured. So is he healthy, fully healthy? Not sure. I think the numbers actually reflected a little bit. So let's see. So from an ownership perspective, let's take a look and see. I believe, so you have Karl-Anthony Towns at 8,500, 43% ownership. Ant is up, actually. His ownership's been coming up. It was down around 20% earlier today when I checked. It's now 35%. So it is really coming up. So I think people must think he's going to be good. It's a great matchup for him. They played 3 times this year, and each time it was extremely consistent, no matter who was playing on Minnesota, whether or not, Gobert was in, or Reed was in, or Anthony Towns was in or out, or Anderson was in or out. He was getting between 46 and 48 fantasy points. So no reason to think he's not going to do that, even exceed it a little bit, because again, he might play 40 minutes, and he wasn't doing that during the regular season. So I really like him. I love Karl-Anthony Towns. I think his pricing is way too low for the number of minutes that he's going to be getting. And again, remember that OKC does not play very well against big men. They just don't really have somebody to guard Karl-Anthony Towns. So I think he goes to town, pun intended. I am going to fade Gobert. Could he, have a good game? I mean, against OKC, sure. Could he get 15 rebounds? Yeah, maybe. But I just think not excited about, what happened 2 games ago. I think he gets a few fewer minutes than these other guys, and so I'm not going to him. I'd much rather. I am looking at a lineup that has both Towns and Edwards. But for the most part, I'm probably going with one. I will definitely be going with one or the other, no matter what lineup I've got. The guy, aside from fading Gobert, I'm probably going to fade Taurean Prince as well. I think he's the one who gets affected by Gobert being back in. I think his minutes go down. I'd rather pay up for Anderson, who gets you a lot of other peripheral stats. Anderson's another guy I was looking at in prop bets, and I think he could have a big rebounding game. So I'm going after rebounds and Anderson. Yeah, and I wouldn't go any further. I mean, maybe a Nickeil Alexander-Walker, just because he is 4K and could, pop off offensively. But I'm not going to go for McLaughlin or Noel. And Conley is really the only other guy, and I do like Conley. I think he's super solid. He's going to be getting way more minutes than he has been. I think, this is his time to shine. Not during the regular season because of his age, but it's now similar to Lowry that way. So I do like him as well. And I think the pricing works out on this slate that you can easily get to 3 studs and work your way from there. And I think it's just a matter of choosing between them. So let's see what's going on in the chat. We've got lots going on. Okay. Bev has joined us. Bev, how's it going? Great to see you in the chat. And OS, yeah, thoughts on Naw. I mean, I think that's where I'm at. I mean, I just don't see him getting the type. This isn't the kind of game where he's going to be, getting free reign and getting the type of points up maybe that he would in a game that didn't matter. So I think his minutes stay a bit limited and his usage as a result. So, maybe in a GPP, but not excited about getting to him in a cash game. Aloysius and hey, Crash has joined us. All right, we dominate the playoffs. It is so true, so true. DeRozan could be dead sneaky $1 million play. Yeah, exactly. Definitely not super sneaky since he's like 30% owned, but when you're choosing between Levine and DeRozan, I'm taking a stand and I'm going DeRozan tonight. Might be the death of me, but going for it. All right. So Josh is prepping for MLB tonight. I can't wait. I want to see what's going on. Talk about crushing it. I mean, Crash has been like Mr. Consistency, pretty much winning every single slate, winning a lineup on every single slate. It's been a lot of fun. Crash says Dort was awesome against the Pelicans. He sure was, and I just think, yeah, his defense is going to shine against a team like the T-Wolves, and I do really like him. I think he's solid. Thunder will close small ball. Yep. Jalen with a Y. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, SGA. I mean, the thing about SGA is he's the lowest owned because of his pricing. He's the lowest owned of all the superstars. So if he goes off and gives you 60, fantasy points at that price, and you're gonna need him in the lineup. So I like him in GPPs, because of that low ownership, and I'm definitely going to be playing around with that. All right. King of Smack, you're taking credit for calling Lowry? I'm taking credit for calling Lowry. Yeah, we all played him last time. The question is, are you going to play him this time? So let me know. Isaiah Joe, 5 from deep. Man, I don't know. I don't know if they let him launch it that much. He tends to fade, and I just wonder if he's going to step into the limelight in this game. GPP only for me. White and Caruso. Okay, don't fade the Oh, Gobert. You don't like that, huh? Yeah, I know. I just, you know, a bit of a personal thing too, being that he's such a bum. But other than that, I just think I think Towns dominates, and Gobert can sometimes Gobert doesn't even show up in games. I think that's going to be the case here. I'm just like a girl. Let's see. Earl, hey, what's going on, Earl? You've joined us. It's awesome to see you, and you're asking for some top plays. Let's do it. Top value plays on Fanduel. All right, I'll tell you what I got. Okay, I'll tell you who I don't have. Don't play Kevin Love. He's going to play like 5 minutes. There's no way. I don't know why they got him. He cannot play in these kinds of situations. Wouldn't go there. Wouldn't go for DeSumo. Saric. I mean, I don't think it's a crazy play to play Saric. But again, I'm just afraid he's going to get some minutes. Same thing with Oladipo. So deep GPP for me on Oladipo or Saric. I'd rather go for value. I'd rather go Kobe White. I'd rather go Gabe Vincent. I'd rather go Caleb Martin. And Alex Caruso. They are all priced below 5K on FanDuel. I know that's harder to get to. So those are my favorite value plays. And best center on FanDuel? Well, given that, you got a lot of guys qualifying at the center position. I got to go with Karl Anthony Towns. To me, I think he's hands down he's going to have the best game of all the centers today. And I'd follow that up. If you didn't want to pay all the way up to Towns, I'd follow that up with Bam. Those are my top two choices for FanDuel. It differs for me on Draftkings, where Jalen Williams is like 4,400. Crazy value there. So I like that. Okay. So let's see what else we got. So I hope you crush it today in FanDuel, Earl. All right, what's going on? Let's see. In my car creations, what's going on, man? I don't think I've ever met you in the chat. So nice to have you here. Gobert is likely going to be in. Don't like him though. Stay away. And King of Smack is not rolling with Lowry tonight. I hear you. I think Caruso and White are an interesting combination. I also like Pat Bev. Favorite value play on DK. All right, let's go over there. I think there's a lot of good value plays on DK. It's pretty similar. I would absolutely say, so Jalen Williams, but he's above 4,000. If you need somebody under 4,000, probably, oh man, I'm probably going Saric, although I'm very intrigued by Oladipo. And, Miami made reference to making some lineup changes tonight, and I'm just wondering exactly what they're referring to. It might be Caleb Martin getting more minutes. It might be Lowry starting, or it could be Oladipo getting more minutes. I'm not quite sure. So, if you get more information on that, or if we get more information, we'll be sure to tell you in the Discord. But that would make me tempted to play Oladipo. I probably will not. I'm not going to go in a cash game. I'm not going to use any of the guys under 4K. There's a number of good ones above 4K who I'd be more likely to use, like I mentioned, Jalen Williams 4,400, Pat Bev 4,300, Martin 4,500. So I think you've got enough, right in that zone to use in cash games. But in the GPP, yeah, throw in an Isaiah Joe or a Saric or an Oladipo. All right. What's your approach on guarding the Bulls in OKC? Hey, Abel, don't recall meeting you either. Nice to have you join us. Approach on guarding the Bulls in OKC, like who's guarding who? So, I think, and that's the big question, right? It depends on who starts. So I think that's the issue with Strus starting. And Strus on Levine is probably a disaster for Miami. So I think they're going to start Caleb Martin is my guess, and you have Martin on Levine and Butler on DeRozan. That's how I'm thinking about it. And in terms of guarding OKC, I think the challenge. I mean, Shea is pretty big for Conley. Conley's a good defender though. So not sure. I mean, you might have a little slow-mo doing some of the guarding as well. I would certainly think that you've got, Edwards on Giddey. So I don't think that's a problem at all. You might have the other way, flipping it the other way, you might have Lou Dort defending Anthony Edwards. I would not be surprised if they did that. Let's see what we got. Abel, that's hilarious. Those must be nightmares you're having. That's all I can say. Here you go again, boy from Cali. You're talking baseball again? Hey, get your own chat if you want to be talking baseball. Everyone's seeing me in their dreams. Oh man, you guys crack me up. All right, there's a lot of chatter. You guys are having fun today. Must have been like, I guess it's Friday or something, right? Everyone's taking off from work early, gonna have fun this weekend. I like Senga too, by the way, just saying. But then again, I'm a Mets fan, so I'm a little bit biased there. How are you guys doing on baseball? Baseball's been going pretty well. I've been enjoying it. So this is a fun time of year because you get the playoffs in basketball, which I really love. It's my type of slates, and then you get baseball going and all these like crazy things going on in baseball. Hey, did any of you guys do So Rare, by the way? That's been my new big thing. It's been a lot of fun. I'm spending way too much time and money on it. So, all right, I'll let you guys go through some of your baseball chatter. Anything else on NBA? I think let's see. I think our first game starts at 7 p.m. Eastern, so we'll get lineups in there around 3:30 or so, assuming that there are no changes, and I'm not expecting too much. But like I said, I'm feeling really good about the lineups tonight. So I don't know if I can get to 5 stars. That's 5 crowns. That's a pretty tough bar, but I'm thinking definitely 4.5. So so unless you guys have any other questions, that's it for me. And I know that Crash is working hard on those MLB lineups, so make sure you check those out on Discord as well. And then we will be back tomorrow for both baseball and basketball as we look to crush it in NBA DFS. Take care.